Hello guys, it's September 26th, 2024. So here we are starting a dream trip to the most dreamiest locations ever. So I'll be revealing the location later on. So we have a flight from Trivandrum International Airport. We reached the airport a bit early, so we had much of a time to hope around the airport, and finally we are boarding. We actually chose the Scoot Airlines, which is actually a budget airlines for the trip to our location. It's just me and Amma, super excited for the trip. And then we saw the wonderful skyline of Trivandrum, and by 8 am in the morning, we landed at the airport, and the airport itself was super beautiful. Each and every corner was super beautiful and luxurious. I'll do a detailed video on this airport alone on our last day. And we took our luggage, did a small freshening up, and we were taken out by our cab driver. And now we are officially at Singapore, the Garden City of Singapore. As the name suggests, every look-in corner of this beautiful city is filled with gardens. Surprisingly, this is a roadside and you can see so many beautiful flowers in the roadside, and the traffic system you should definitely mention because it's super controlled, super maintained. There is no such traffic jams, traffic issues and all, and we were having a beautiful road ride to our hotel, and we stayed at the Hotel Value Thompson. As you can see, this is the view from the hotel, and the hotel was okay. And actually in Singapore, the most costlier thing is the stay only. And then we started our day one, and this was my outfit for day one. For day one, we opted for the city tour. Actually, we were taken in a bus, and the starting point was from Hotel Holiday Inn. We had to wait at Holiday Inn's hotel, which is actually a luxurious hotel, and it is having a very beautiful cafe inside, which is also completely green. This is a famous palace in Singapore, and this one is a tuk-tuk in Singapore. Tuk-tuks are usually famous in Thailand, but this is a version in Singapore. And now we have officially entered the Suntec City. Suntec City, it is basically there are 4 multi-storied buildings, and at the center there is a statue. And this is the statue which you can see in Krish movie where Hrithik Roshan is sliding through the statue. And then this one is the Singapore Flyer, which is very famous. And this one is a DNA bridge. It is actually in the shape of a DNA. And this one is the Marina Bay Sands and the Merlion. These are the most famous touristy spots in Singapore. And then we went to the Gardens by the Bay. Actually, there are 2 dorms in Gardens by the Bay. One is a cloud forest and the other one is a floral fantasy. The one which you can see now is a cloud forest. It is actually a tall structure from which the water is actually drizzling down. It is super beautiful to see. I think I should shut up for a while. You just enjoy this wonderful view. One of the craziest things is that all these trees and plants which you can see are real, and this is the top portion of this cloud forest. Actually, this was the sunset time and we were having a wonderful view, and this smoke like thing is actually fogging. In most of the places in Singapore we can see fogging happening. It is actually a system which is used to just water these wonderful trees and plants. These are actually some sort of lightings which were there, and these are the picture plants, actually these insect capturing plants. And this is the Marina Bay Sands, and this is the glowing gardens. And at night these groves are super beautiful. Actually, there is a fixed span of time where these groves started showing lightings different. There is a light show happening for these groves. And then on the next day we went on a village tour. Actually, these are the residential areas of Singapore, especially the homes of people staying at Singapore. We can see this. And on the evening of that particular day too, we went to Chinatown and we witnessed a beautiful temple. Actually, in Singapore there are actually 3 groups of people: the foreigners, people, Malayalis who are staying at Singapore, as well as the Chinese people. So this temple completely depicts the Chinese culture, and the most of the worshippers there are actually Chinese people. And each of these corners is super beautiful. There are about 1,000 Buddha statues in this particular temple. Each corner of this temple is having a story to portray, and each corner is aesthetically so very pleasing and beautiful. And also, during our time of a visit, there was actually a traditional dance performance which was going on in this particular temple. I think it's a part of a ritual or tradition. During this time of the noon, they're actually playing in front of this Lord Buddha. Actually, it was very beautiful to see. There was drums playing, people dressed in the form of dragons, I think. They were dancing, they were throwing fruits and veggies in front of the visitors. It was actually a really colorful experience to watch them dance and enjoy and throw the fruits, veggies, everything. Actually, people were trying to catch those offering items from them. And then we went on to the Suntec City again to have our lunch. This was the statue which we already saw, and this statue is called as a statue of wealth. It is actually depicting their culture. Then we went on to our next destination. Our next destination is a Sentosa Island. Usually through Sentosa Island we use the cable cars to reach this particular island, and the cable car ride is just super wonderful. You can see the harbors, the sea, the complete skyline of Singapore while sitting in that cable cars. So actually some of the cable cars were different. Some of them were having Hello Kitties. Actually they were celebrating something related to Hello Kitty. So everything was based on that particular theme, and we were having a wonderful ride to the Sentosa. First we saw the Wax Museum, and this thing which you can see now is the fogging happening in Singapore. It is actually very dreamy to see this, because we'll be having that mind of a child while we are actually walking through this fogging. Fogging is basically done to water these trees and plants in Singapore. Actually most of the places we can see fogging during a particular time span. And we also went to a beach at Sentosa. Actually, as the name suggests, Sentosa is an island. It is actually a created one, so we have to visit a beach to complete that. Then we hopped around at the different areas of Sentosa Island. So it was actually an island surrounded by sea, and then during the evening time, mostly by about 6 p.m. we had the wonderful light show to end this wonderful day. We had the best days of our life at Singapore on this particular time. So it was actually a light show happening, and it was super wonderful to see. And the end, the grand finale was just super mesmerizing. You just enjoy this. And here begins our day 3. For day 3, we chose Universal Studios. So everything about Universal Studios is just super wonderful. We actually hopped around almost all the rides, and those rides were super crazy, super adventurous. And this one is a famous Universal Studio structure, the Simple basically, and everybody was taking so many pictures around it, and we were literally hopping around almost all the rides, and we were enjoying it every bit. And this one was a far away. It is actually having a very beautiful castle in it, and it's each and every corner of those particular castle, the rides was super cute and beautiful. And there was time spanned shows also happening inside the Universal Studio. So every look and corner of this particular studio is super picturesque and super beautiful. And these are the wonderful walkways of Singapore. This was actually a small version of a roller coaster. Actual roller coaster was something very crazy and adventurous. And then we had a water show happening in Singapore's Universal Studio. It was actually having so many boom bangs and all, and it was super crazy. Actually there was different zones in the seating area. We literally chose the wet zone, which means we will get wet if we are actually sitting in it, but we chose to get wet because we are here to enjoy, so why not enjoy it to the fullest. this one was the famous Mummy roller coaster ride. It is actually a very big roller coaster ride which is having so much of fire in it. And this one was the best roller coaster according to me in Singapore Universal Studio. It was just out of the world. And now it's time to say bye to Universal Studio. You'll be always there in my memories. So the next destination was the time capsule and the Singapore Flyer. Singapore Flyer was another wonderful experience in our trip because it was just out of the world. Every bit of that particular ride, it was actually I think a 30 minutes ride, and every minute, every second of it, we were enjoying that wonderful skyline of Singapore. On one side, we can see the skyscrapers, the top buildings, the top-notch culture of Singapore, and the next side we can see the harbor, the sea, everything of Singapore. This was the Flyer during the night time, and now we can see the wonderful skyline of Singapore. And straight out of the Singapore Flyer, we went on to the Oxford Street, which was actually a very happening street in Singapore. This particular Oxford Street is completely filled with luxurious items, luxurious brands, everything. In Singapore's Oxford Street was just dreamy and luxurious. And this cute street is Little India. It was completely lit for the Diwali. And for the last day of our trip, we chose to explore the Singapore's Changi Airport, the Jewel Changi Airport completely. This was another attraction in Singapore's Changi Airport, the waterfall-like gateway. And this one is the famous indoor waterfall. The world's largest indoor waterfall is seen in this particular Singapore's Changi Airport, and that particular train which you can see is actually a train that connects the terminals, and it is completely free. And every corner, from every look and corner, this particular airport was super beautiful, and all these trees and plants are actually natural. The green is just adding to the beauty of this particular airport. You just enjoy this. And that was the end of a 4-day wonderful trip to Singapore. Everything about Singapore, every memory we have about Singapore right now is super beautiful, super aesthetic, super comforting.